There we go. All right, so good night to everyone tuned in there on the internet. It's a Monday, and you guys know that on Mondays I normally do my show called The Everyday People Belize. So, again, for those people tuned in, I want to thank you for being here. And again, I am on Facebook under bapplay, and I'm also on YouTube under Marcel Palmer. So definitely on the YouTube platform, I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel so the channel can grow. And like you guys know, I do a lot of different things when it comes to using these platforms. So definitely, I try to encourage people, try to encourage some of the young people to come out and have their voices heard, and this is certainly a good way to do that. I think that we have been given a lot of power when it comes to distribution of information that we don't take advantage of. And I say this because I can think about years ago when the other people didn't have this privilege of being able to share information with the world, or being able to connect, or being able to converse with people from across the world, right? So that's definitely a plus for us in this era that I would like to ask everybody to take advantage of, right? If you have, say for example, an idea that you want to share, it is so easy now to get in touch with somebody across the world and share that idea, or have somebody from across the world listen to that idea, because of the power of technology that is available to us. And of course, my thoughts for us here in Belize is that we don't use it enough. And so I'd just like to encourage people to use it a bit more, get into the technology, share what you have to share, create new innovative ideas using the technology, something to assist us in building our economy. So, I see a lot of people doing things differently now when it comes to using their creativity. That's a good thing, and it gives you a chance now to just open that market up to everyone else who's around you, right? But definitely, one of the hot topics for us here in Belize right now, what is that shooting at the BJF soldier, and I've just been sitting down and thinking about everything, and realizing how much in trouble we are for being such a peaceful community, for being such a peaceful country, and how things have shifted. And I have told a lot of people that I believe we are in, what I would consider some dark days, and we have to keep a sound mind in order for us to propel forward, right? And of course, asking everybody to just be careful out there, be careful out there, be careful out there, especially when it comes to firearm. I'm not a lover of firearm. As soon as I see a gun, I mean, that's a scary thing for me, and so I can only imagine the what's going through the head of the youngster, and the mother, after all that has been witnessed and now it's exposed to the world. And probably for good reasons it is exposed, because then we would have seen, we would have heard the wrong story to whatever transpired. But again, condolences are with the families who have lost their loved one, including the other people who have died to gun violence in our country, and who have died at the hand of our people who are set out to protect us, right? But it means then that we have a lot of voicing, if I can call it that, to do, and people really have to keep vigilant. I encourage everyone who can afford it to set up some sort of surveillance system, just so that movements are recorded. You want these recordings, in particular, so that there's evidence of what happens, because and I'll just be honest, we live in a country where it's full of favors and people protect each other, which is kind of uncalled for in most cases, but that's just the reality on the ground. So it means, though, that as a society we have a lot of changes we need to start making, and we need to start calling out these people who have great ideas and people who can assist in charting the way forward. That will definitely help, right? But definitely we have a lot of work. I have mentioned in some of the previous shows some of the ideas in terms of charting the way forward for our law enforcement officers. But again, these are left up to the policymakers, right, and the people who lead us in that direction. So, but there's a lot happening in Cayo. If you notice, I was looking at the news today, and for a while I had to just tune out from Facebook because of all the comments being bombarded and all the feedback from what's going on, and it kind of get to you. And so, and with everything else going on, of course, kind of get to you to say, you know what, things getting bad, things getting bad in Belize, things getting bad in Little Belize, but we try to stay positive and we try to hope for the best and hope that there's an answer somewhere, right? But that takes me into the second part of this thing where I want to talk about the answer being in our youth development. And this is because at some point there's a phase out that happens, and I was telling somebody this today that there's a phase out that happens in terms of our connection with the young people and whether we're involving them in what we do so that there is continuation, right? And so we need what I would consider as committed youths to some of the different programs. And I'm saying this because we don't want that whatever plans are being made, because now the discussion will start, I can tell you that. Because the people of Cayo, they're more fiery than apparently the people down south, right? And I'm thinking about places like St. Bite to the construction of that gas station and how it's allowed and how we have the DOE doing all of this environmental stuff to us, and nobody backfires on it and say, all right, enough is enough. Well, people up that side, they're starting, and normally the fire is in Orange Walk, right? But this time in Cayo. So the point is that we want to ensure that we have commitment from our youth members, right? And I have my camera went off, so let me double check that quickly. I'll be right back, guys. Yeah, so I don't know, the camera has been acting up uh, for a while now, but I'll see if I can get that back on stream for you guys. But let me add something to the screen and see if we can continue conversation. I have a small piece of script that I want to demonstrate to you guys, and this thing is definitely not cooperating with me. But point B, that we need to have committed youths, and committed youths, point one, are those people who have a vision, right? So I think you can still hear me. The committed youths are the youths who have a vision on where we want to go, right? So they have to be involved. We have to involve them in creating that vision or creating that space of where we want to be, right, or where we want to go. We also have to allow them to feel competent enough. So no idea is too far-fetched when it comes to asking them to assist us with ideas, especially where we're moving or how we're moving. We're hearing a lot of things. We're hearing the blue economy. We're hearing about the super bond being restructured again. We're looking at all the crime rates rising. We're looking at COVID. We're looking at how do we grow our economy in different areas. How do we involve the youths in development? And so we go back to making the point that, one, they have to have a vision as a committed youth, right? So the young people listening, we want you to make sure that you have a vision, you know the direction you want to see your country in. We want you to feel competent, that you're a part of it. We also want you to have responsibilities, right? Responsibilities then shows commitment, right? So we want that you're also, there are also responsibilities in there. And of course, with all that responsibility, it takes us into point number 4, where there's recognition for your work. So as young people, your addition to your development in your country comes from you being a part of it, and of course, you being recognized, right? We want you to have an influence in what is being done, and so you have to step up and make sure people know I want to be part of this change. We want that you be properly supported in whatever projects that you're taking care of, and of course, we want you to be creative. One of the things that somebody brought up to me during the week, last week, was that, and I was talking about the thing about corruption, and you know what, our country is corrupt, blah, 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 the normal cries. And they told me, you know what, in order for you to stop corruption, you have to be innovative. And I was kind of confused first, and I said, all right, stop corruption, innovative, but don't we stop corruption in legislation? He said, no. He said corruption is actually favors done. And that kind of moved me. Corruption is favors done. But an innovative community can develop itself in terms of not needing some of those favors, because remember, it comes from favors that you normally can't get. And one of those, of course, is land, right? Land is becoming scarce for us. And so we have corruption in the lands department, or the natural resource ministry, at its highest. And so, but if we're innovative and we can create new ideas and we can build new things, then that will come in terms of land, but we don't need to fight to get there, right? And so we decrease the number of corruption that happens when there's a community development that happens. I don't know if you get me, right? But I spoke to somebody this week and they mentioned that to me, that innovation comes first and then you get to decrease corruption, because people are simply looking at favors, right? Favors needed. And that is what creates the corruption itself. Apart from that, I also took a look at, because I wanted to understand a little bit more about what the Prime Minister spoke about when he introduced the idea that they were negotiating for the blue bond, right? And essentially what I found was that the blue bond, which sounds great, I guess, and it probably is something that somebody asked, so what's the catch, right, when it comes to a blue bond? And from my own research, I can tell you that it's kind of refinancing that's happening in countries that have this vast access to sea and natural resources. And it sounds really nice and sounds really conservative based, right? But I know that it will have its challenges, but it's just refinancing. As far as I can tell, it's just refinancing at lower interest rate, a longer time period by the private sector and public sector. And so it will, of course, then assist you in terms of accessing money, right, to help develop your country. There was a country called Seychelles, right? And they did it already. I think they were the first country that had the blue bond implemented as a part of their restructuring for finance. And so it's definitely a good example to look at. They are a country with a really small population of about 90,000 people. A small space or a small area that they call home, right, made up of several islands. So Seychelles, if you can do that research, it's definitely something to look at as an example of how the blue bond will work and how it ties into the entire thing, right? So it's referred to as a debt for nature swap, right? So you're protecting your natural habitat in terms of the sea, and it definitely help or add into more marine protection or nature-based solution and climate change investments, right? So again, we still have to look at how we diversify from tourism, how we incorporate other things into our economy to have it grow, right? And at a community level, it means that we also have to look at how we develop our community based on what skills we have, right? And so that's kind of charting the way forward. So I really wanted to share those 3 points with you tonight. I'm having some issues with my camera, right? As you can see it blinking up and down. But I really wanted to share those 3 points with you. One was looking at what happened over the course of the weekend with the officer, and how we can remedy situations like that and stop it from happening. Um, Two was again looking at the blue economy. And then the last point I want to make is that for countries to change, and I know that there's a promise for free education, but maybe that free education can start at the tertiary level. And I'm thinking about how many students didn't make it to the tertiary level. So maybe we can start free education at tertiary level, right? So if you have an educated youth population, let's say at sixth form, so you finish high school, a lot of people when they finish high school they go to work and so forth. If we can continue the education process into sixth form and offer the free education there at sixth form, maybe you're spending less from the government, you know, pot, but it means then you're touching a certain age group, the vulnerable age group, and you're keeping them in school and educated at that juncture, right? Good. So tonight is going to be short. I know the rains are coming. You can hear that in the microphone also, right? But basically wanted to touch those 3 points for tonight, and I'll stop there, right? And remember, guys, I'll be here next week, Monday again, giving you a part of the Everyday People Belize, right? And apologies for the technical difficulties I'm experiencing. I have to check those. But I'll see you next time.